Hey guys, welcome to the FitTown Show. I'm Coach Andrew with Coach Danielle, and then we have a special member guest today. We got Colton Partlow, one of the staples at, what are you doing, 7 a.m. right now? 7 and 8
7 a.m., 7:10 a.m.
7:10 a.m. FTX. He's been with us for, I think, about 3 years as well, right?
Just about, yep. February will be 3 years.
Yeah, and your wife goes here, your daughter goes here now.
Daughter, kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got it all.
All here.
So we wanted to bring Colton on mainly to talk about the nutrition side. It's something that you've spent a lot of time on, and so often we're talking about weight loss, and you have a little bit of weight loss in your journey, but I think more of your journey has been centered around muscle gain more than weight loss, and I think it's something that we don't talk about enough for the people that do want to gain muscle, how to do that effectively. But I wanted to kick it off. I wanted to talk a little bit about your why, because you had talked to us just before we started here about how that's a driving factor for you. So what is your why, and how did that fit into you starting here?
Yeah, I mean, good question. My why is my family history, really. My dad passed away in 2012 at 71 years old from heart issues, cholesterol issues. My grandfather, same thing, young 70s, heart issues, overweight, cholesterol issues. I just didn't want to follow the family trend. Unfortunately, my brother passed away from a snowmobile accident right just a few weeks before my dad died. So in the month of March 2012, we buried both of them, and it was just kind of like a eye-opening experience. You know, I'm like last guy in the family. Standing and watching my grandfather and my dad be gone from, heart issues and cholesterol issues. So I started to get, interested. I did a life insurance test. I came back with having to pay extra premiums because my cholesterol was too high. And I thought, okay, I just don't want to follow the family trend. So I started, in my young 30s, I started looking at, seeing heart doctors, getting blood tests, getting baselines, figuring that out. I started seeing some doctors that wanted to put me on statins, in my young 30s. I thought that was, I thought that was a bit much. I didn't want to be, confined to taking prescription drugs for the rest of my life if there's something that I could do about it myself. So, I asked for some time. I wanted to work on my weight, my food choices, my nutrition, and I got better. I'd get better, and then it would seem like, like most people, I'd kind of roller coaster. I'd get better, and then I'd get a little bit worse, and then I'd get another blood test, and I'd get better, and then I'd put some more weight back on and maybe get worse. And I just realized over time that, it was the food, but it was also my weight. When my weight was down, is usually when my blood panels got a lot better. So I mostly worked out at home for years. I did P90X, home workouts. Vicky, my wife, came here a few years ago. She said she loved it, convinced me to come in, and I haven't looked back since. It's been great. And, the biggest thing is probably down. I have been focused on weight a lot in the past, and now I'm not so much. But I am probably down over 20, 25 pounds since I started coming here, and that's had the biggest effect on, my cholesterol and my overall health.
Where was your weight in 2012?
2012, I was always when I was kind of into it and doing well, I'd be 215, 220. I mean, I'm also 6'3", almost 6'4". 215, 220. When I was kind of a little more out of control, it could get up to the 230s. Mm-hmm. 230s would be really bad. 215, my blood would be, like my LDL would be around 130 or so, which is above optimal. You want to be about 100 or less. And that's really the best I could get it. I tried to take some over-the-counter drugs like niacin, red yeast rice, some things that would naturally help your LDL to get a little bit better. But it wasn't until I got my weight below 200 that I got below 100 and got into the optimal range. That was the big thing for me.
How far into your fitness journey and nutrition journey was that when you were able to stop taking those over the counters?
That was awesome when that happened. So I did Beach Fit for about 6 months, got my weight down. I think we said it was about 201
Yeah,
or
you said you
202.
thought you started about 225, but that you didn't have a test then to really prove that. But then your first in-body was about 201, and that was about 8 months in, I believe, in November of 2018.
Yeah, big regret not doing a scan first when I started. I don't know where my body fat was, probably in the low to mid 20s. My weight was probably closer to 230. And about 8 months in, when we did my first scan, I was down to 201, 202. My body fat was just
17 and a half.
17 and a half. And that got me pretty close. That got me pretty dialed in. But my nutrition wasn't quite there yet. And that's when I started with Danielle, was the end of 2018.
Was it just workouts into that point, or did you feel like you had made some nutrition, some lifestyle changes too?
Definitely made some changes, but I wasn't there with nutrition. I mean, I never grew up in a household or in an education school or anything really learning much about nutrition. And that's just kind of one of those things I guess I just was kind of oblivious to most of my life. I didn't really know much about it.
What didn't you know if you look back? Like, was it just like not knowing about macros, not even knowing like what's healthy and what's not? Like,
yeah, I mean, the amount of calories in, calories out, the amount of food you eat, the numbers, the macros, the protein for muscle synthesis, the fuel and what you're using for fuel, the carbs, or some people the fats, like so many things I just had no idea about. And now, even things down to nutrient timing and when I take things, it's just a whole new world's opened up.
I feel like boat days were really hard too for you when you started.
Boat days were tough.
Yeah, trying to figure that out.
Boat days were tough for a variety of reasons because, you're out in the Bahamas or on a boat for a day or days at a time, so you're packing different. You're not at home, you're not in your kitchen. I'm around friends that are probably drinking excessively and, not on the same diet kind of regimen that I am. So boat days were always tough. And then you get really dehydrated out there if you're not careful. So boat days, we used to joke about that a lot.
What allowed you to, did you stop doing as many, or did you just have a better plan when you did do them?
I just got better, like Danielle got me on things like Fuel for Fires and Perfect Bars and healthy things that are easy to grab and take with you. And, and just meal prep. I never did that before. And I don't as much now, but I did for the first year. It was always about, when you're trying to figure it out, there's a lot more work to do on the front end. So weighing things and doing your meal prep and making sure you're not overeating was huge at first. Now, or maybe the past year since I have it more dialed in, I'm a little bit more flexible with it, but it took a while to kind of get those habits down. But finding healthy snacks and healthy things to bring, out on the boat or just when I'm traveling in general. It's not just the boat. It can be traveling, vacations, anything. Those are the places where you derail. Finding those little secrets and little things that you can, easily just take with you or pack have been huge for me. Instead of just eating out or having fast food or doing what's quick and easy, trying to stay disciplined. And it's not like I don't like eating them. I like those healthy choices. They're good. I like them. I enjoy having them, so it's not hard.
Yeah, that's one of the eye-opening moments is like, wow, this actually doesn't have to taste bad to be good for me. Yeah. You learn those things, and it sounds like also you've gotten a lot more in tune with your body over time, what works for you, what doesn't. Yeah. You were talking about when you started nutrition coaching, you started to go into that. What were some of the big lessons learned, or what was the shift for you with the nutrition coaching?
Like just understanding things like, my numbers and my macros and where they are or why they should be there. My calories, understanding, like ranges on my maintenance and understanding here's my maintenance range, or here's kind of where I'm at, where I'm not losing weight or I'm not gaining weight. Not a perfect number. There's more of a range around it.
What were some of those ranges for you? Since give people a point of reference. You're a bigger guy, 220 to 200 at times.
Yeah.
What's been the high or low calories you've been on?
My maintenance is typically around 2,500. Right now it's around 2,500. I'm building that back up because I was on a little bit of a cut for a while. But if I'm doing a pretty hard cut, I'll be 22, 23. Maintenance 24 to 26. 27, 28, I could start, that's kind of the highest that I've been, but that's a lot of food. I mean, you get to the point where you're eating almost 2,800 calories. There's not much to complain about there,
Especially if you're eating some real food in there, because the calories are dense.
I used to tell Danielle all the time, I'd be like, I can't eat that much. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't. We were at 2750, I think, when I stopped, after a year of nutrition. And I'm like, I can't do it. She's like, that's when the perfect bars came in. She's like, just have a perfect bar. Because they're 340 calories, ton of healthy fats, you get your carbs, some protein. And that's kind of been the thing that helped me always get there, was that, that perfect. Some people can't do it. It's a lot of calories or it's too heavy for them. But if you're trying to get 2,500 to 3,000, it's easy to throw one of those in, help you get there each day. And I love them.
Yeah, they're so good.
I love them. That and the cups, the peanut butter, chocolate peanut butter, Perfect Bar cups. Every night, I make sure I have one or two of those. Again, that's a couple hundred calories real quick. And I love chocolate and peanut butter. So the whole Perfect Bar family has been a lifesaver for me.
I hate you. It's so not fair.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bar.
Yeah, so good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the gaining weight. So you mentioned Perfect Bar as a tip, but what struggles did you have with gaining weight, and what other tricks did you learn for gaining muscle? Because it sounded like you once you gave some attention, you lost the weight pretty quickly, and then your goal shifted to, okay, I'm at a pretty good goal weight, roughly 200 pounds, but now I want to put on some muscle. I want to look good. I want to perform, right? Yeah,
that was the difference. First, it was let's get the fat off, and then let's try to get the muscle on. I've always taken kind of a slower but steady approach. I don't feel like anything in life or business that comes easy is probably going to end up being that good. So I take this slow approach with it. I wanted to get the weight off. I was very impatient. I remember you reached out to me and we talked a couple times. I want to do extra work. I want to put on the muscle now that I've got some of the fat off. But for me, it was, the protein and making sure I got enough of that. I always noted, until I started tracking, I realized that I was way heavier on carbs than protein. I think for me, I don't mind the pastas and the breads and all that. So it was really easy for me to get the carbs, and my carbs were just so much higher than my protein intake. So just tracking in general helped me kind of figure that out.
I like what you said about slow and steady, and that was one thing I wanted to ask you about is, we kind of evolve your story here. You did about a year of nutrition coaching, and then the last, I think about 6 months now, you've kind of been on your own, a little bit more loosely, but still progressing. Yeah. And you just passed 100 pounds of muscle the other day, which is a huge milestone for you, and you're at your, one of your lowest body fat percentages you've ever been. Now from 17.5 from your first scan down to around the 12% range. Yep. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between being patient with something versus being complacent with something and not really moving the needle forward at all? What made you feel like in the last 6 months you've still been moving forward versus I'm not putting in the effort to what Danielle was holding me accountable to?
Yeah, maybe sustainability, finding something that kind of really, I don't know, maybe I do more strength training. Corona's actually been pretty good for me, right? Some people during Corona have gained a lot of weight, some people have worked out more. For me, the past 7 or 8 months, I've had a lot of extra time, right? I've had a lot of extra time to focus on my nutrition, doing some extra work and some extra strength training outside of what we do here at home. I've got a full rig and full set of weights and everything set up at home as well. So, that's been really good to have all that at home and to have all the right equipment. But for me, I don't know. I mean, I've just...
Well, you had brought up like the meal prep as an example. So you say you don't really meal prep the same. So what does that look like now? Is that just you throwing something together on the spot? What does that look like?
You do it for long enough and you kind of know. Like, I know if I'm in like a 2,300 calories and I'm in like a mini kind of a cut for a little while, I just know what I eat. I eat the same 950 to 1,000 calories every morning. It's the same thing.
What is that?
It's coffee when I wake up in the morning. I have some coffee. I have a protein shake. I've actually just adjusted it a little bit because I was talking to Scott Dixon about it, and I realized that after I work out, I was ingesting way too much protein at one time, and I was probably wasting some of it. So I used to have a double scoop of protein after, and now I do one before, I do one after. I have egg whites, English muffin, put some honey on it. Like my first 1,000 calories, 100 grams of carbs, 70 or 80 grams of protein, 30 or so grams of fat every day. It's all the same. Like, I have it all on an app. I move it over from one day to the next. It almost never changes. It's pretty much consistent all the time. And it's easy for tracking because I can just click on it, copy, move it over, and that's always the same. Then my lunches really depend. If I'm at maintenance or reversing or higher calories, I know I have pretty much my leftover dinner. So whatever I had from dinner the night before, some sort of pasta or rice and some sort of lean meat, chicken, turkey, whatever I had for dinner the night before, I have that for lunch again, and I know I can have a full lunch. If I have the calories, I'll have the perfect bar, something for a snack. I have my dinner, but I know if I'm gonna cut what I have to cut out and when I need to cut it out, and I don't really need to weigh it anymore. I still track just because it's just a habit, and it's pretty easy for me now, especially since almost half of my calories are pretty similar every day.
Have you ever gone away from tracking?
I have. I've taken a couple breaks. You still have your streak?
Oh, yeah.
Streak.
That's like my streak cred. I can't get rid of it.
You got to be like 1,200 days by now. I mean,
13, but...
Who's counting?
I was like really hinging on that, and then I was like, okay, I got to let go of that a little bit. So when I take vacations with the family and things like that, I'll stop. And I don't really worry about that. Like, I also don't diet hard before I go into a vacation. In fact, I eat more and I try to get my calories up. So I don't like strip them down. I'm in a deficit, then I go on vacation and my body wants to store it all. So I work really hard at reversing my calories up going into a vacation.
Okay, I'm really proud of you for saying that because you are very resistant about reversing at all in general. And I think that's been huge for putting on the muscle mass that you have, is because I had to fight you over and over to get those calories back up, but it's been worth it, hasn't it?
It's been worth it.
That you can't always live on low calories and you can still stay lean and eat a ton of food, huh?
Yeah. No, I do. And I mean, I think it's a little different when you get below, like the hardest part for me was getting 17, 16, 15, 14 into the 13s. That was the hardest part. I feel like once you get down there, I mean, now what are we talking about? 1% body fat, 1% on a couple hundred pounds. We're only talking about a couple, it's not much. Yeah. So you literally strip off a few pounds at this point and a couple percentages are just gone, 3 or 4 pounds of fat, which you can do pretty quick, if you're disciplined and you're working hard and watching what you eat and not consuming a lot of alcohol and doing the right things. That comes pretty quick. And so now I'm at a point where I don't have to worry about calorie deficits and starving myself. I'm eating a ton. I'm constantly adding calories back, and that's really helped me put the muscle on now because I'm not worried about the fat much anymore. I'm just worried about putting on the lean muscle mass and eating quite a bit.
Yeah.
So from your first cut to your most recent cut, do you feel like you've been able to lose weight on more calories since you've started reversing properly?
Oh yeah. I'm in a reverse right now. I'm 2,600 and I'm still losing weight. and I'm eating over my calories and I'm still losing weight right now. So, maybe I need to be a little bit more aggressive and add some more, but I use an app for that now, and I just follow it. I've just realized that I just follow it. It's a carbon app that I use, and I listen to it, because you're going to have good weeks and you're going to have bad weeks, and you just can't freak out. If all of a sudden one week you're holding more water and you're a little bit heavy, you can't just freak out and start starving yourself. I just be patient, I stick with it, and usually, it works itself out over the next couple of weeks, and that's been pretty helpful for me. The other thing that's been really helpful, and we were talking about it before, is that I weigh myself every day at the same time. And I know some of this stuff sounds kind of OCD, but that is probably the single biggest thing that's helped me, is I weigh myself at the same time every day. Right when I get out of bed, I take a leak, I weigh myself every day. Boxers, that's it. Not wearing any, same clothes, same process, same time.
Better wash those boxers.
Every single time. But I'm just saying, it's not like I do it here in the morning or there in the evening, or sometimes with more clothes on and sometimes with less, or sometimes before the gym or after. Same thing every morning, wake up, go to the bathroom, weigh myself every day. And then I track it every day. I average it over the course of a week. Because again, you go out to eat on a Friday night and you have a bunch of food out at a restaurant with salt and this and that in it, and all of a sudden I'm 4 pounds heavier the next day. If my check-in is that next day, that's not an accurate weight check-in. So I weigh myself every day, I take the average for a week, and I plug that week in and track it. And that tells me if I've gained a half a pound over a week, okay. If I've gained more, and that's what it always is. It'll be some slight modification over a course of a week, but that will tell me what I'm really doing. If I'm going down, if I'm going up, if I'm meeting, the goals that I've set for myself. So
is it that 7-day average that keeps you from kind of like freaking out too much?
Oh yeah, because otherwise you'd go out and have a couple drinks and some food out, and you're like, oh my gosh, and everything's like the next morning the world's going to end, and you can't be like that. So that gives me the patience to kind of see what I'm doing, and then I can just make some adjustments. Like if I go the Bahamas for a week, family vacation, more drinking, more eating out, more fried food, this and that, I end up putting on, a couple pounds, like, okay, I get it, I see it, I still weigh. Even when I go on vacation, I bring a scale with me. Sounds kind of crazy, but like that's the thing that keeps me between the ditches, is weighing myself every day at the same time, averaging it out. It's been the biggest help,
nice.
To keep me in check and not let things get out of control. Because that's what it is, like something kind of gets out of control, you take a couple of weeks and you want to get back to the gym, you've been eating bad for a couple of weeks, you're going to keep eating bad, and next thing you know, a month or two goes by, you put 5 to 10 pounds back on, you probably put a ton of fat, it's not all just water, and now you've got a problem. Yeah. So, I just try to really, by weighing myself daily, averaging it, and keeping an eye on it, it helps me not let things get out of control. And I feel like I don't even need to really track. I could probably get away from it completely now, just because I've spent so much, only because I've spent so much time weighing food, tracking food, knowing what I can eat, knowing when I can eat it, knowing how my body reacts to it. And you spend so much time, literally for years now, doing that I feel like I just know it so well that I could probably just weigh myself every day and be good, and have a pretty good idea of where I'm at just from that. That's one habit I'll probably not get away from for a while. The tracking thing isn't really as big of a deal for me now, but the weighing thing is what helps keep me honest.
Yeah. Danielle, can you talk a little bit about the reverse dieting, just kind of the theory behind that? So people understand a little bit better. You guys have mentioned it a few times.
So people typically are pretty good at cutting weight. You can always take away calories and strip them or whatever, but most people forget the whole second half of that, which is increasing those calories back up. Just as if you were taking them away, losing weight, you want to do the exact same thing once you've kind of hit your end goal. So increasing that metabolism. it's always going to adapt. So when you're taking calories away, going into a deficit to lose weight, your body's going to start to function on less calories. It'll function not as well, but it'll adapt to that and only burn as much as it has to survive on what it's eating. So we want to increase that back up. And that's usually what's forgotten. So just slow increases that get your metabolism back up to speed. So like when you mentioned going on vacation, if you can get your metabolism at its peak before you go to that, then it's gonna be using all those extra calories a lot better and more efficient than it would if you went from eating 1,300 calories a day to 2,300. It's going to cause a lot of damage. You're going to put on a lot of fat because your body isn't using all of that energy like it once was. So if you can slowly but surely increase your calories back up, then you'll be able to eat a lot more, function a lot better, and still maintain that lean body weight.
Yeah.
So.
And is it just... Yeah, I was just gonna say, is it the speed of the way you incrementally increase it that keeps you? Because it sounds like when you're decreasing it, you're doing it with the goal to lose weight. But when you're increasing it, you're actually doing it with the goal of sustaining weight while getting the calories up.
Right. So like what we would do and what we've done with Colton is just slow, super small increases. So like 200 calories at a time, maybe 300 since he's a bigger guy, less for like smaller girls. And smaller people, but your weight will fluctuate, maybe spike a little bit, watch that trend come back down, stabilize. If it stabilizes, then you'll want to do the exact same thing again. Go up, kind of push that metabolism, let it catch up, stabilize again, and then you want to keep doing that until you started to gain weight, and then you know that you've kind of found your maintenance and you can dial it back to where you're staying. And oftentimes I'll see people who are over dieted, as we start to reverse calories, they lose weight even quicker because they've been surviving on less calories for so long that their body is like so ready for those calories and continues to get even better. So
Danielle, I remember she used to always ask me, how do you feel? How's your energy? How's your hunger levels? And I'm always like, but I knew she was always trying to check in with me and be like, are we ready to take on more? You know, and when I'd be like, oh man, energy's, I'm just starving, then she'd know to add some. And sometimes I feel like I kind of pushed you into that. Sometimes she was a little bit more resistant, like, no, let's give it another week or two at that level. Because you jump it up too quick, like she said, you know, can easily start putting on the weight or piling it on a little bit. But that was conversations many months with us. How do you feel? How is your energy level? How is your hunger? You know, and when I'm just like, I'm just starving, I need more, then we would add a little bit. And I think we got up to 2,750, 2,800 at one point, and that's when I started, I put on a couple more pounds, you know, over a couple weeks than I wanted to, and I was like, okay, we're a little bit past it. We need to kind of woe it back a little bit. But you know, when you do that, and you do a cut, and then you want to start reverse dieting back up, your maintenance will change a little, right? Like depending on how long you've been in it. So if you've been in a deficit for a while, you know, if my maintenance was 24 to 2,600, call it 25, maybe now it's 23 to 2,500 and it went down a little bit. So, you know, when you come out of that, you want to try to go back up, find your maintenance again, and maybe a little bit lower depending on how long you've been cutting for. And then again, like she said, slowly start introducing more calories and see how your body reacts. But that's why the weighing and the averaging is so big, because that's kind of what lets me know when I'm ready. Like I'm adding more, I'm losing weight again right now. I know I'm ready to start adding it. I'm hungry again. Energy's okay. I'm hungry again. I'm losing weight. I'm not trying to lose weight anymore. That's not my goal. So I know I'm ready to add some. And it's not a hard conversation for myself to add more calories, you know.
I feel like that's scary for a lot of people though, to have to go in and add calories, but with you weighing yourself every day, you can kind of talk yourself off that ledge to keep them low for sure.
I'm all about it. I mean, I'm losing weight. I add calories. I want to add muscle, so I want to eat more. So, you know, it's easy for me, but I can understand the weight thing. I don't want to have this taken the wrong way. Like, the weight's not a big deal, what I weigh. I don't care if I weigh 205 or 195 right now. I just do the weight because it helps. It's a check and balance for me. It helps me understand myself and what I'm doing. but I don't want to get carried away. It's not about the weight. I've been up into the 230s. Right after I came back from New Year's this year, all first quarter of this year, right before kind of the whole Corona mess, I was on a pretty good cut, and I got down to high 180s. So I've been at 189, 188 was my lowest, and I'm back up to about 200, 201 right now. So, I've been through it. And it's not about being 189 or 201. I don't see myself being 230 again. But 205, 200 is not a big deal. It's kind of found my weight now. I know I'm like a low 200 kind of guy. Now I'm trying to add some muscle. And if I put on 3 or 4 more pounds of muscle and get to 205, I'm good with that. I just want to make sure I don't put the fat on.
Yeah, it sounds like you're like a well-oiled machine now. Like, I think a lot of people would hear like how many calories you're taking in, what you're having for breakfast, and obviously you're a bigger guy, taller than most, but they'd be like, oh, I can't eat that, I'd gain weight. And they probably couldn't. Like, your 230-pound self, even though you weighed more, probably couldn't eat that the same way and take it in. And you've just, because of the muscle you have, because of your activity levels, because you know yourself, and you've done it incrementally, your body just like takes these calories and just uses them. And it's pretty cool to see that. I
think I'll be over 3,000 calories within probably by early next year, because I'm not at a point where I'm trying to really cut now. I'm still just going to keep adding. I'll probably be reversing up through the holidays and into early next year, and I'd be surprised if I wasn't over 3,000 calories, within 3 or 4 months. And that is a little scary, because it's like, okay, wow, that's a lot. But there's ways to do it, and I'll get it in, and just make sure that they're healthy calories,
Nice. Well, I think it's going to be useful for a lot of people, Colton. Is there anything else that you guys want to add that you can think of?
That's good.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Colton. Thanks for joining us at home. See you on the next one.
Thanks.